Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dwayne Anthony Walker, pastor of Little Rock AME Zion Church. And let me welcome all of you here to the grounds of Little Rock, the campus of Little Rock AME Zion Church. I want to thank Minister Corinne Mack and others who have organized this gathering as we respond to the painful event that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia this past Saturday. As always, before we begin any gathering, we open with prayer. Please join us. God of grace and God of glory, on thy people pour thy power. Crown thy ancient church's story, bring her bud to glorious flower. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the facing of this hour. For the facing of this hour. We thank you, O God, for this privilege that we have allowed us to gather in this holy spot, on this holy ground, to express our heart and our concern about the condition of our nation and our world. We pray, God, you will guide us by your hand, that you will lead us by your power, and all that is said and done will bring glory to your name and be a blessing to your people, and especially to your world. We ask it in the name of your Son, our Savior. Amen.
Good afternoon to all of the citizens of Charlotte. We gather today in unity and in love at a time where so much hate has been displayed. Often we hear hateful rhetoric coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and other areas of the country of which I was born, and it hurts. It hurts because as an African American woman, born and raised in Harlem, USA, we saw so much of the same. And unfortunately, many citizens thought we were past that. And here we are, in 2017, dealing with the very same hate and death and destruction as we dealt with in the 50s and the 60s. Unfortunately, racism goes beyond 2017 and the 2016 election. African Americans can tell you that we've dealt with it for centuries. What we can say to you is that the white nationalists, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and whatever other title they call themselves, have proven themselves over and over again to be the cowards that they call them. That their fear of not being in control is displayed through hatred and division. But we who know our responsibility under the human race know that love trumps hate. We know that light trumps darkness. We know that each and every one of us have a responsibility to be committed to do something different. And so today, we've come together to stand up and to speak up, to stand for what is right and righteous, and to display love in a way that we do not see often enough. What I want to remind you is that love is not always fuzzy and warm, but love also corrects, chastises, and rebukes. And I'm here today to rebuke those who have been hidden under the shadow of darkness, which is hate, those who have harmed through systems and policies and laws, those who harmed in their public and private lives, that we will not stand for here in Charlotte, and we will fight for justice throughout this entire country. Heather Heyer, a 32-year-old paralegal, gave her life on a day in which she thought she was coming to stand up for justice. We had a 20-year-old white male who was ingrained and trained in hatred, plowed into her and over 20 other people. There should be outrage. Outrage not only on the Republican side, but the Democratic side. This goes beyond partisanship. This is about human life and how precious that life is beyond our race, creed, color, or sexual orientation. The fact is we all have the right to have a quality life. We live how we choose to live. Unfortunately, that has not been the reality for many of us. Every day we live with this hatred. Some of it is overt, but most of it is not. We have a mother, Susan Rowe, Heather Hyde's mom, who is in mourning, and the citizens of Charlotte are in mourning with her. We cannot quietly allow this to continue. We will push back, we will fight back, and we will stand for justice. 950 white supremacy groups have risen up since 2016. 20% more hate crimes have happened in the last year. Those numbers speak to where we are in this country. And so the race issue is a human race issue. And we stand at the fork of the road right now. We cannot allow racism to rule in this country. We cannot allow racism to be the thing that we live and die on. We cannot allow love to be the thing that we forget. Because God, the God that we say we serve, is love. And so love must be the thing that we use daily, not only for others, but within ourselves. Because when you love yourself, it's so much easier to love those who look like you than those who do not look like you. And so now I'm going to have a man that I love and that I respect come forward. Once again, Dr. Dwayne Walker.
Let's give Minister Mack a round of applause. I want to thank her again for initiating this gathering and for all of you who joined us here. I don't know about you, but I'm so sick of double standards in America, I don't know what to do. For 8 years of the Obama presidency, we had to hear of how terrible a job he was doing, how poorly he performed his duties, how ineffective his policies were, and how un-American he was. He was challenged on his citizenship, and all of these awful characterizations were led by, promoted by, the current president, Donald J. Trump. In fact, President Trump ran on the platform and the mantra, "Make America Great Again," knowing full well that he was emboldening a base of persons who hated the fact that they had a black president in spite of significant accomplishments made under his administration, accomplishments achieved, by the way, in spite of an uncooperative Congress who tied his hands. But even in spite of that, he was successful in getting some policies accomplished and getting America working and moving again, even while making great without strong. Many of the problems that he inherited were diminished when he left office. Donald Trump has never had a problem with saying what he means and meaning what he says. His words are typically direct and precise, and many times painful to hear. His words about President Obama were painful, but yet they were direct and precise. His words about immigrants are painful, but they are direct and precise. His words about health care are painful, but they are direct and precise. His words about the less fortunate and women are direct and precise. But when he had an opportunity to speak on Saturday, his words were not direct and they were not precise. When he had an opportunity to denounce the atrocious acts that occurred in Charlottesville, Virginia, rather than stating the fact, he placed blame on everyone involved and not acknowledging the racism that was spawned by the policies and the words that he continues to declare via Twitter every day. And so we're thankful and we are encouraged by the number of persons who have come together, who have shown unity in the face of such an awful occurrence. And again, I say that I am so sick of double standards, I don't know what to do, because America says one thing, but does another. And our experience has been that while we grew up in educational systems, learning such songs as My Country, 'Tis Indeed Sweet Land of Liberty, while we learned such songs as this land was made for you and me, that has not been our experience. And this president has come, rather than diminishing the disparities that exist in this country, and done nothing but widen them. The disparities of housing has been widened. The disparities of education and economic opportunity has been widened by these president's policies. His policies and his position have been anti-immigrant, anti-women, anti-minority, and frankly, anti-American. And we hope and pray that the spotlight that's been shown on Charlottesville will wake up this nation to know that we have faced the problem of our present past, the sin of racism, and we must face it, acknowledge it, so we can change it, and in fact and indeed be America for all Americans. God bless you, and God bless America.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to first acknowledge and thank Dr. Walker and the Little Rock Amy Zion Church family for consistently being and having created that safe place in our community where we can come to and find a voice, and we can also find a place of healing. I also want to acknowledge the leadership of Corinne Mack with the NAACP. And I want all of Charlotte and the world to see and know that standing behind me is a group of interfaith leaders all over this city. And so what you see is men and women, black and white, Democrats and Republicans, yes, I said Republicans, who are standing here this afternoon in solidarity with the families and the victims in Charlottesville, Virginia. You see, the President of the United States has made it clear that under his leadership, he will not lead in condemning the white nationalist movement. Hatred has had a deadly impact on our country, and most recently in Charlottesville. To say that you are against white supremacy and to not stand against the policies that embolden that movement is hypocrisy. The issue is not about black and white. The issue is about right and wrong. And so as a father, I have to explain to my 12-year-old, what does all of this mean? And so I know that if my daughter is looking at this on the national news, that other children are looking at this. And so the question is for our city, is what will we do? How will we respond and how will we act? And I'm suggesting to you here this afternoon is that how we respond to this hatred and ugliness that has been allowed to persist in our community and across this country. Our young people are watching us. And so I'm very, very proud to stand this afternoon with these men and women because, again, we're going to stand for love, not hate. We're going to stand for unity and not division. And so even at a time when the President of the United States is conflicted in his own mind, we people who are standing here today are not. We stand united as one community and as one voice to let the world know that we will not be moved and we will not be shaken by racism any longer. And so I just want to say to the people who are listening, and what the president would not say, and that is the old right, don't come here. White supremacy, stay away.
That's right.
Nazis, you're not welcome.
That's right.
And KKK, not today.
Not today.
These united people of Charlotte will always stand up to hate and hypocrisy and hope stealers. Yes, I call them hope stealers. And we mustn't always say, with one collective voice, when standing in the face of these threats to our peace and unity, we shall not be moved.
Amen.
You know,
You are me and I am you. I will tell you the mantra of my people. Never again, the bully boys will not take over this country. They will not march again with other people being afraid of them. A coward dies a million deaths. A decent man dies once. We will stand up. We will not allow this to be in our cities, our states, or our country. And if other people don't want to join us, we'll find a place to go because it isn't going to work anymore. Be able to stand up for equity for all people, to remember that we are all human under one creator. So I come to you as a community leader, asking every community in the city to do what the East and West Side has done around the crescent, the greater West and the greater East. To lock arms together, to lift up everyone in our community, and for those who have been privileged to understand that together we all win. And this shiny city is not any greater than the people who are a part of it. So I ask us all to stop hating, begin to love, and let us work together for the greater good. Thank you.
Deep disgust has ridden me. I am heartsick for the loss of innocent life. I will not let their lives be forgotten, and I will honor their lives by my stand and my service. We all know we are facing a dark, evil force. There is an active and organized movement to divide us, oppress, and destroy our inclusive American values. We all know that this hateful movement must and will be stopped. This hate is able to thrive right now because of a large void. We are in a time when there is a void in true leadership. True leadership is rare and it is tough. Leadership is not loud or boastful. It requires one to listen before deciding and take bold stands, and more importantly, be accountable to one's own word.
Yes.
We do not have that in our country right now. Instead, we have a leader who incites the worst tendencies in humankind. It is reckless in his words and has zero accountability. We must meet this hateful force head on. We must actively work together to confront this evil and enroll our fellow American citizens. My background is one of serving. I joined the Navy at 17 as a Navy diver. My mom signed the contract. After the attacks on America on 9/11, I joined the Marine Corps as an officer. I served 3 tours in Iraq, serving as a combat helicopter pilot. I currently serve in the North Carolina Army National Guard. Leadership is about teamwork and accountability to our governing council. When our values are under threat, I respond with stepping up to serve. I always have, I will continue to do so. This great challenge before us is to eliminate the apathy of many of our fellow citizens. Many of our citizens have the wrong impression that their voice does not matter, that their voice does not make a difference. We must enroll Americans in our cause. We must also call on our fellow Americans to stand with us and not be silent. Indifference is not acceptable. All people of goodwill and moral character must actively condemn this hate. As John F. Kennedy said, the hottest place in hell are reserved for those who in time of moral crisis preserve their neutrality. I am resolved to stand tall and serve while I met with my fellow brave Americans who will prevail in the fight for justice, equality, and our freedoms. I will not be silent, and I will work relentlessly to protect our citizens under threat and attack. I am determined that we will prevail, stamp out this evil hatred. Thank you, and God bless.
I knew exactly where I was when I received a phone call that my sister Cynthia was murdered attending Bible study at Emmanuel AME Church. I know the day, I know the hour, I know the feeling. I know the pain of racism, discrimination, and hatred. And that's why I felt compelled to be here today. Our nation hires elected leader wins office on words of prejudice, exclusion, and outright hate. Like-minded individuals, be they simply ignorant or inherently evil, feel emboldened to publicly express dissent with language and gestures intended to intimidate. One of them goes further to saying he has the right and the power to take lives. I like to be able to talk only about these sad, small men and how they march for hate, then go home feeling big, strong, and pat each other on the back on an online love fest. But this weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia shows we can't dismiss these racist and sad small men. Not when it only takes a handful of them to graduate to terrorism and fatally wound our towns, our cities, our country, and the American spirit. We saw this 2 years ago in Charleston, where my sister and 8 others were murdered in the church by someone who acted on his racist belief and had access to tools that inflicted damage and pain. There's a difference between carrying torches and pulling a trigger, of course. If you want to march and let loud things roll up your town, I'm okay with it. That's your right to free speech, no matter how pathetic and revealing of white privilege the speech is. But when the speech is channeled into violent actions, whether it's firing a gun to a church or piling down a car into a crowd, that's terrorism, plain and simple. And we've seen this in our country time and time again. Oklahoma City, Aurora, Sandy Hook, Charleston. It's terrorism committed by white young men.
Let's not give so much attention to clowns in suits. Don't be derailed. Focus on what really matters.
Yes, yes.
It's really not about black and white anymore. That was my grandfather's war. It's about follow the money.
Yes.
Who's funding the Ku Klux Klan? Who's funding white supremacy groups? The chance of the matter, if you want to look for white supremacists and Klansmen yesterday, they were easily defined. They were in our American churches. This is why Caucasian leaders must not only hide behind the desks of their pulpits, they must stand with us for justice for all. Because chances are you'll pass a white supremacist that will never give a thought to come into my church. So that's why we have to come together. Follow the dollar. It's amazing to me as an ex-athlete. A lot of men has been readmitted to the NFL that have beat their wives, that have gun charges, drug charges. But one man stands today, can't get a contract because he took a knee for justice of all. Follow the dollar. Sometimes when you follow the dollar, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So instead of marching, why not speak to the NFL and say, why is this? Instead of marching, 85% of the NFL are African American athletes, but only one took a knee. So chances are, it's not some of us won't get involved till one of our kids gets shot, or one of our parishioners in our congregation is treated unjustly. We have to come together. Chances are, most of you don't know I'm from a town called South Haven, Michigan. 75% of the people are Caucasian. The truth of the matter is, regardless of what people tell you, all Caucasians are not bad.
That's right.
All black people are not bad. There's demons in every race and every ethnicity. What we have to focus on is doing the work of God. What is the work of God? We spend too much time in churches than spending time feeding the homeless. That's called classism. We spend too much time in the churches rather than educating our children. And the Bible says, my children are destroyed not for a lack of race, but for a lack of knowledge. Once we empower our children to realize who they are and realize where they come from, they have no problem with embracing their future. So it's good for us to come together. It's good for us to dissipate down Trump, talk about Trump. It's good for us to renounce racism. But it's not until we be able to fund our children, whether they white, black, blue, or brown, to understand it's not about your race. It's not about classism. But when your child has the same opportunity that my child has, that a child that's in the city has the same opportunity that a person from the suburb has, then we can find equality. But not until then. Racism and classism will always hunt us as Americans. Well, they say make America great again. I never really found America to be great as an African American. I don't know what you're talking about when we was lynched from trees after you had churches. I don't know if you're talking about being down after carrying the Skittles. I don't remember America being great. That's your story. That's not my story. That's right. My story is that my fathers and my grandmothers, kings and queens, were beaten because of the outward pulchritude of their skin. And for that reason, we cannot continue that. We must come together. And once again, I challenge every Caucasian pastor to do what Ron Parsley did yesterday. Denounce racism and sin in your congregations.
I come here today with a particular Jewish perspective. It's a perspective born from the scope of Jewish history. As Jews, we have walked in the valley of the shadows. Death and sorrow and oppression, they're not strangers to us. We are a people that has learned to weep, but not just once and not just for ourselves. As Jews, we were strangers and slaves in Egypt. We fought on the front lines of the civil rights movement, and our prophets and our history have bequeathed to us a moral vision that calls out to us to act with the values transmitted to us by the generations that came before us, to confront hate and oppressive forces quickly and vigorously, to recognize our own roles and our own responsibilities, our complacency, and when we are silent too often, and to create the promised land of our future, a world where love and compassion and justice and freedom are the values upon which our great country is built. President Obama called this effort the attempt to narrow the gap between the promise of our ideals and the reality of our time. The world as it is not as it ought to be. Our country as it is not as it ought to be. Our city as it is not as it ought to be. Our Jewish eyes meet with our non-Jewish brethren, because as Jews, we know that many of us are here today because righteous people stood by our side in our times of need. We Jews know the cost of silence. We remember where we come from.
They wouldn't tell him the truth. Instead, they complimented him on the splendor of his clothing that did not exist. Instead, they told him, "Oh, your clothing is so beautiful." And then along comes a child who says, "Man, you're naked. You're indecent. You don't have any clothes on. You ought to be ashamed of yourself." So when we sometimes speak of the real issues and the real problems, we'll sometimes call troublemakers when we're really being like the child in the story of the Emperor's Clothing, who sees that everything is not all right.
That's right.
Jesus, the great prophet called Christ in Christian theology, Islamic theology, they like to call him a peacemaker. And they even call him the Prince of Peace.
And then I thought about 1975, when I lived in Louisiana. And I thought about meeting this supposedly star of the town of Denham Springs, Louisiana, David Duke, who was also a young man. I think he was a couple years older than I was. And then I heard him speak. And it was, I'll always remember that. I was like, I have never in my life been more disgusted than I was when I heard him. And I saw how people responded. He condemns people on Twitter. But he was silent. And I have to disagree with one of the previous speakers who said that these groups have come out because of the internet and because of social media. I believe these groups are emboldened by our president. And they are coming out because of that. Right before I came here, the president made a statement, which was obviously he did not write. And I have to say, he covered some of the things that he should have said. But it did not begin to address the issues of condemning. He talked nothing about action. He didn't say that he wanted to rid the White House of any of his staff members who supported these groups. He did not say that. He did not say anything about the Department of Justice that was going to investigate. He did not. He didn't talk about action. He made his statement that someone else read, someone else wrote, and then he took no questions.
You raised your hand and said, Zeke Kyle, you are going to find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. And they have outlawed those groups in that country. So I ask, why can't we do that here?
Something is wrong. It is wrong. And we will be wrong as long as we say nothing. Speak up today. Make a difference.